I'll see you next week.
Yeah, right, I'm gonna talk.
You gotta let me know when you're ready, so,
Oh, yes.
'cause I know you get my stuff, and these other group things.
Yeah, I should hear it.
Okay.
I don't need that. Right. That's the first meeting. And it's like I'm having cloud.
I'm sure I'll stop.
They should be done.
So I just.
I almost got a million.
Too many right now, so I think I just need to take down yourself, and then I'll send that in.
I said if I can use that, I'll just
I just.
have a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah, you do.
I know, yeah.
Do you get a
Interesting.
fancy tracker? Name tracker? Oh, slightly larger.
This is, did you say?
Yes, I'm right here.
Okay, I'm gonna call the meeting to order to try and be on time for the first meeting of 2023. Thank you for being here, small crowd, but, and this is my first one, so be gentle. Please, silence all cell phones. And I want everybody to know that this township has gone through changes with this meeting room where the blue lights aren't anything to do with Alexa. They're microphones, and I think we've got cameras all over the place. So we will be live streaming it on Facebook, and it will be recorded for later viewing if you care to. And on our website, there's a little, I think it's where the, Jake, please correct me, where the magnifying glass is, you click there and it'll tell you what meetings by date and the name of what's there. Are we taping the trustees, the zoning commission, and the appeals? Is that the plan?
I believe that's the plan. I don't know if that's all gonna go forth
Okay.
for, the very beginning of this year, but I do know that we're trying to get everything started up.
Well, I tried today, and I'm somewhat technically competent to get to the recording, but couldn't find it, so I'll try again after the meeting. But they said it's off of our website, is where you get to it. Okay. If you haven't signed in, please do, but I've been told it's not a requirement. We just like to have everybody who's at the meeting sign in. However, if you do have comments to make, during the meeting, on any of the issues, you're required to give your name and address. And mainly that's so they know you're from the community and not a client. I'm just telling you what I heard from the expert. Okay. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lisa, would you do the roll, please?
Sure. Joe Valentine?
Here.
Darcy Kaplan? Here. Angela Brown? Here. Jenny Slows? Here. Keith Gosha?
Here.
And I just want to make sure, you two have not been appointed as permanent yet, right? Are you still alternates?
They
Oh, are you
were
both?
appointed, yes.
Okay, good. I was not sure. Great. Okay.
And they accepted, that's the most.
So they accepted.
Okay, I'm gonna read the adopted policy. The adopted policy of Berlin Township Zoning Commission is that each applicant or agenda item will be given 10 minutes or at the discretion of the chairperson to make a formal presentation. The chair will allow questions from the commission members in order to provide a timely and orderly discussion of business for consideration. Finally, the audience will then be given up to 3 minutes or at the discretion of the chairperson for each speaker to respond. The chairperson may limit repetitive debate, and all comments from the audience must be addressed to the chairperson. And I already mentioned the name and address would be required if you do that. So with that, Lisa, would you verify that the meeting was advertised?
Yes, as a regular meeting, last month in the Delaware Gazette.
And I'm looking for a motion to approve the BZC minutes from 12/13.
So moved.
Second.
Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Mr. Valentine?
Yes.
Ms. Close?
Yes.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Goshen?
Yes.
Okay, so the first item on the list of business is a table and continue from 10/25. It's BZC 22-002, filed by APN Group LLC in Manoj Kumar Pokala, P.O. Box 903, Powell, Ohio 43065. The applicant is requesting to rezone parcels 418-340-01-032-000 and 418-340-01-048-002, plus or minus 48 acres from farm residential FR1 to R3 planned residential district with the overlay R3 PRD at 3710 Piatt's Road, Lewis Center, Ohio, 43035 for, and this says 86, but I believe the submission is for 83 single-family homes, community known as Peach Blow Crossing, and the revisions came in on 12/22. With that, Tony, I think it's up to you.
Good evening, I'm Tony Ironman. My address is 1907 River Road, Delaware 43015. I'm here tonight representing APN. Peach Blow Crossing is the name of the community. We're here on a preliminary development plan with the PRD and an R3 overlay request. We've had several meetings on this, and we're here tonight to address a number of items and hopefully to get an approval if it's possible. We've had several meetings on this application. We've listened, we've read all the comments and tried to address comments as well. The last meeting, which was a Zoom meeting because I was diagnosed with COVID over Thanksgiving, which was a wonderful thing to stay at home by myself on Turkey Day, but got a lot done anyhow. The Zoom meeting, we had a Zoom meeting that I had written. I appreciate everyone's comments. I'd written a number of notes, and among those notes, I'll just list a couple of things. And the one thing that was very clear is the board would like 10,800 square feet of lots minimum. The density was told to me to be less than 2 units per acre. That's a net density. And out of that, I wrote a note here. It says no divergence other than the density for the entire community. And also there was a request. It's one of those things that if we had our choice, we would happily agree to it. But the request was, if possible, to have 2 accesses to the site, one off of Peach Blow Road and one off of the Piatt Road. I can address that one first, and it's not easy for me to say, though it's easy to address. The county engineer's comments in its last page of section 3 in the development plan binder is included on the front page of the traffic study that we submitted as the county engineer's comments. And in it, basically says pretty clearly, and we followed up to make sure we were reading hate to say right, but we understood it completely. The right in, right out will not be permitted on Peach Blow Road. This can be an emergency access. Please revise and resubmit. And that's, was not a welcome comment from them, but that's out of our hands, unfortunately. But to address the other items that came out of that meeting and previous meetings, the new plan that has been submitted, the development text is all new. It's all dated December 22nd, 2022. The new plan on page 10 and on the development plan also says 10,890 square feet, which is the requirement for the zoning text, and it complies with the R3 frontage area setbacks and all the other development standards, side yard setbacks, front yard setbacks, everything in that complies with the R3 district. On page page 10 is the Exhibit A, Peach Blow Crossing PRD lot restrictions. Of the two middle lots, the Peach Blow Crossing proposals on the left, the Berlin Township PRD R3 residential district is the right column, and you can see they match up. And only in one instance do the text even change. That's the building dimensions, and we refer to section 1108N because our building dimensions and areas are greater than the R3 requirements. Everything else matches up. In addition to the items we addressed, we still retained approximately 38% open space. That's 18.73 acres. Included in that is an 1.5 acre amenity park in the central part of the community. I put just the plans that I put up on there are the same plans that are in the binder. This just shows you that I can still stay inside the lines when I color render things. But it's the exact plan, just color rendered. There's two sets. One is the sheet that Jerry is handing out, and the other is all the landscape plans. And the sheet that you have now is just enlargement of the park plan and the sign plan. The central amenity park has a play area, 2 pickleball courts, has an 1/8 of a mile walkway inside it. It has a lawn and a sled hill. The sled hill is for smaller children. It's centrally located, walkable for the entire community. And it's a great asset, a great amenity. The mail kiosk will also be located at that point in there, and it's shown on the plan too. With that, and because you have the other sheet, the comment came up, the question on the entry column, and we've revised the layout or the design of the entry column. It's a true Italianate column. It's a traditional architecture. 10 by 10, its massing is much more substantial. It's appropriately massed with the scale and the height of the column. It's all downlighted, which was a question in the last meeting. And the lighting will be inside the bar at the top, shining down. It's very attractive, I appreciate the comments from the last meeting because I think it's an improvement from what was there before. Actually, it has an architectural style with it. Lastly, and one of the last comment to be addressed of the previous meeting is we have reduced the number of units. As Jerry mentioned, we have 83, we're proposing 83 single-family lots. That's a 1.69 dwelling unit per acre gross density, and 1.99 dwelling unit per acre net density. Stays within the direction we got from the last meeting of staying under 2 units an acre. And there are no other divergences. We're in a position, the site is in a position where it's up against the railroad tracks. It's a very difficult site. The county's taken away the southern access that we really wanted. It would provide a secondary access and a nice throughway in and out for both access points and also spread the traffic out a little bit. So we're really not asking for much with the hardships that's been included. Included in the plan that really wasn't brought up a whole lot, but it's things that were mentioned. We added the mounting and the landscaping as part of the sheets. The mounting, if you look at the grading plan that's on the landscape plan, it's not a continuous mount. We can't do continuous mounting and still allow for surface drainage from the pipe neighbors in through and into the lakes that we're providing. But we have designed them so they overlap. So the mound coming this way and the mound coming this way, with drainage coming through. And then we have landscaping on top of the mounds. It's probably a 3 to 6 foot mound with the landscaping on top. The landscaping, the rendered landscaping is shown at probably about 1/2 to 2/3 mature size. We didn't want to show you a 40-foot tree when a 40-foot tree isn't going to be a 40-foot tree for a number of years. So we were trying to be as honest as we could on that. I mentioned the revised entry sign. The entry street landscaping based on the last meeting, we have come in and added mounding. We've gotten rid of a lot of the landscaping along there and just had lawn with street trees. They're located outside the right of way. They're spaced 40 feet apart or 35 feet, which is what's spec'd in the zoning text. The entrance, someone brought up a question on if there's too much planting out along the corner out at the Pike Road. So we used a rail fence to allow for that will stop short and allow for the sight triangle and allow for visibility on that corner. The tree or even the sign plan or the sign elevation shows the sign will be located in a ground cover bed. So between the sign and the ground cover, there's a sight distance that is maintained. It will allow for safety at that intersection. I mentioned we're maintaining surface drainage for our perimeter properties. We have, and it's if you saw the next comment on the traffic, the county engineer's traffic comments was to have a new study done. We have done that. They have read it and they're asking for more information if we continue on into engineering, because we'll be looking at the details on the Pike Road improvements, the deceleration and things like that. But at this point, we've complied with everything that we had noted, and we're very pleased with the plan. I'm really excited with the park. I think the park's really sharp. The pickleball courts, I've never played, but I want to learn. And that could be a great play. And Jerry's going to teach me how, I think. They are oriented north-south, which is the proper way to orient tennis courts, football fields, soccer fields, and pickleball courts. And then third base to home, or home to third base is facing north too. So with that, and the children's play area, the 8th mile walking track just within the park, not all the sidewalks throughout the community. And then there's a small hill there for children, tots. And, a few of my grandkids could come over there and sled on the hill. It's probably going to be about 6 foot high, which is not very high for most, but for the younger ones, it's great. And it provides a great place for kite flying and picnics too. So with that, I really don't have much more to add. Based on all my notes, I think we've addressed everything, and we're here to answer any questions.
Lindsay, would you like to start?
I don't know if I want to or not. Okay, so I'll start off easier. It was my understanding when I looked at the traffic study that this, and so please correct me if I'm wrong, but is this traffic study saying that we need a left turn out of the neighborhood.
It's a left turn into the neighborhood northbound.
A left turn in, okay, so it
Yep.
does not affect so it's fine to have only in, out, a one lane in, out on your main drive. You don't need a turn lane there.
That, I think, will be finally concluded when it's engineering time, but that was my understanding as well. But again, you're asking me final engineering comments.
Okay.
And I don't know the final answer to that.
Okay.
But yeah, to answer your question, it was northbound traffic on Pyatt Road needs to have a left turn, so there's a bypass lane that comes around the east side.
Yes, okay, because that was one of my concerns that I had noted is that with your current plans, the way that it's laid out, it did not feel as if you would have enough space there.
Oh, there's plenty of
If you needed
space.
to.
It's 100-foot wide in that area.
Okay.
And the free lane can fit in 60 feet.
But
I
even with your
realized
landscaping-
as I was rendering that I left the right-of-way lines off of the colored plan there.
Mhm.
So I apologize for that.
Okay,
But that's 100-foot wide and that's plenty of room.
I was comparing it to the other lots where we had.
Yeah.
Okay. So I have a lot of notes from Berlin Bluffs and Maeve Meadows because it was called out in here that we were asking for a divergence because of the other neighborhoods, the other communities that had been approved, that were to the north, that had been approved, that had, from an open space and I think lot size, if I'm remembering correctly, so deviations. And sorry, I think I had that one right here. Let me see. So we had asked for divergences based off of Evans Farms. There was a request for the divergence.
Well, the question came up in one of the previous meetings where there were other divergences, the
Yes.
density. And I just gave you a list of what I thought I knew.
Yep.
And Evans Farm was one and Berlin Meadows was another. And there were a number, there were probably 3 or 4 that I came up with.
Okay, so the ones that I specifically looked at, which we did the final development plans, we approved them, most recently were Berlin Bluffs and Maeve Meadows.
Okay.
And we did not have divergences with those in terms of, Berlin Bluffs did have with the lot size. And we had said that that was okay, and that was based off of how much usable open space there was. So I think that's where my biggest problem with this is, and I know you're up against a rock and a hard place right here with the shape of the entire area, where existing properties already are. I mean, you're boxed in, and there's no way for you to change. It's going to be very difficult to change that layout. But where my biggest hang up is we're calling everything but 1.5 acres in that park open space.
Mhm.
And overall, I had in here 17.2 acres, but it includes the basins,
Mhm.
and it also includes where there's mounding, and it includes where all the trees are. So when you're actually looking at what is usable open space, and I'm looking at what we previously approved for a final development plan and what we had gone forward with from a preliminary development plan, those neighborhoods had larger actual parks and usable open space. So all of that area that was around from a buffer perspective it's condensed in. So for example, in Maeve Meadows, the park there was 8.1 acres, just the park, okay? Then we had walking trails around the park. We had walking trails around the back of properties, and we had a walking trail around part of the pond where there were benches, the actual, so I love what you've done with the children's play area and the pickleball courts. The other places have some similar things. They don't have the pickleball courts, they have the children's play area, but they truly have more usable open space. And we gave them a divergence on specifically Berlin Bluffs, a divergence on 21 of their lots because they had that usable open space throughout the communities. They had the, Berlin Bluffs had the 5.95 acre tot lot that also had a shelter in there. And then there was that common open space where kids could actually play, anyone could fly kites, anything else, and that was 7.38 acres. So when you actually just took up those spaces in Berlin Bluffs, it's 13.33 acres, which is actually 24% off of the gross density. So that truly is, but if I look at what the 1.5 is, it's 10.13. So that's what I get hung up on, is that when you look at where the rest of that is, it's not where people are going to be actually having their kids go play or wherever. You're not going to be, and you're walking behind properties, there's no paths there. Also, my question with that is that with all of these basins, it calls out that those, and I love the idea of those being for where you can like set off your, your toy motorboats and stuff like that and go fishing. But are those going to be full all of the time?
Yes.
Will
They are retention basins, not detention basins.
Okay, so when the water collects there, so they're supposed to be collecting the water from the, right?
Yes,
Okay, so where is the water flowing from there? If they're
it
always
flows to the
full?
north. There's a
Okay.
ditch along our north property line, along the north tree line, where the storm outlet is.
Okay, so those are also going to be stocked because it called out fishing as, will those be stocked by the HOA? Is that something that is gonna be kind of?
There'll be fish in them. I'm not sure how they'll be stocked, but yes.
Okay. I know that we have given some divergence to others, but this, you have a very large portion of the lot stacking up to each other, which the other neighborhoods did not have. Those other communities did not have. And you have a fraction of where it's actually grouped together. So that is my biggest concern, is that it feels like everyone's in each other's backyards. And then it's all ponds.
We have roughly 30 to 32 lots that back into one another.
Mhm.
So substantially less than 50% of them back into them, and a couple of those, 4 of those actually front onto the park too. So
Okay,
it's a percentage, it's not half though.
yeah. So let me look at my notes and see what else. You called out that there's going to be 25% with siloed garages.
Right.
Okay, are those specifically the ones that are larger than 0.25 acres?
Not necessarily. I mean, as the development occurs, depending on which house is selected, on which lot, they'll be scattered throughout the community.
Yeah, because not everything can, depending on the property that is selected, if you select a floor plan that is larger and can't fit that from the side load, obviously. So what are the measures that we put in place, given kind of the way that the neighborhood is structured? I'm seeing obviously a lot of the ones on the court, they're going into along Peach Flow. Those would likely be okay. And then on the far side, those would likely be okay because of the way that the lots are positioned. But is there any thoughts about how you're gonna make sure that this stays at 25%? Do you feel like that's going to be difficult?
Ultimately, the approval is through the township zoning office on keeping track of the developer will keep track of the 25% too. But if there gets to a point where, and this is done throughout Delaware County, throughout all the zoning offices, is if there's 25% of 84 for math, so whatever 25%, and I picked 84 because it divides into 25% even. That's the number, and they'll be kept track of in the zoning office, that there will be that many homes. And being that I can't say there are infinite number of floor plans for each lot, but whoever the builder is comes in and he or she will have certain floor plans that fit on these lots, and some will accommodate side load garages, and some will be front load.
Exactly.
Yeah.
On the square footage, okay.
And if you get to the point that you need 20 side load garages to go to meet the quota, and there are only 20 lots left, then all 20 lots are going to have side load garages in order to
And they
accommodate.
can only be certain.
And they won't be issued zoning permits to take to the building department for permits if you don't meet those numbers.
Okay. Will your sidewalks be along both sides of the road?
Yeah.
They will be, okay. Here now. The walking, jogging path, is that a multi-use path, or is that goes around the park? Is that a sidewalk, is that simply a sidewalk, or is that really just
I think the plan was for it to be 6 foot sidewalk. The 6 foot would accommodate 2 people side by side or one passing in each direction. But it allows you to walk around and talk with a friend as you're walking around it too. Or push a baby stroller and have someone pass by.
Just make sure I have everything. That's all I have. I'm only one person, so I'm only one person. I'll pass.
Okay. Are there any benches in the courtyard or
The plan was, yeah,
okay,
and I don't think we showed any. I didn't know we had to.
okay.
So
And what about, I might have missed it, but what about, I see a wood rail fence here in the front where the entrance is, but what about fencing otherwise throughout? Is there any fencing in the back by the railroad or? Okay. So the only thing, I think we had talked about this the last time, like the only thing that I think there was a concern over like separating the mounding, and I know you discussed that tonight.
there is, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. There is a provision in your zoning text, and we complied that if we abut an agricultural property, we have fencing provided there too. So I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Okay,
I'm sorry, continue, because I know you had a good point coming.
I think that we had expressed some concern about the proximity to the railroad, so I understand your concern with wanting to not reroute, with the mounding, not wanting to divert the water and wanting to control that, but I guess, my concern is with the railroad being right there and, these houses, especially along the back there, you're really close to the railroad, so is there anything else you can do you can't mount that, is there fencing you could put up along the back, or?
We had, and I was responsible for bringing Evans Farm and Ross Creek, the Ross property on the south side of Peach Blow through for zoning approval as well. Neither of those did we have any fencing along there. the intent was just to have it as green space. If someone wants to go out there and walk, which they could, because it'd be maintained by the HOA, it'd be a walk there or a grass path, however you want to do it. We're not putting trails in, but most of the traffic would be around the park or around the pond areas. And the mounding around there would help keep the people away from the tracks, but a fence isn't going to help a whole lot if kid wants to go to the railroad tracks.
And I know that have you met with the neighbors? I thought you had mentioned something about meeting with the neighbors again.
We were going to meet with them if everything looks good on the landscape plans tonight. That was my intent before we would go to trustees.
Because, I guess my thought in terms of Angela's comments, not that I don't disagree with her, but, not that I disagree with her, but I do see that there is a difference between this and Berlin Bluffs, and that the neighbors did express that they didn't want you to reduce the water. So I do think this is a little bit different. Not to stick up for you, but I do think this is a little bit different because they do want the open space to be used with these retention ponds. So this is, whereas with Berlin Bluffs, the neighbors, with Berlin Manor and the other neighborhoods, we're asking for there to be more usable open space in terms of parks and things like that the community could use. I think the community does want the water issue resolved for everyone's benefit. So I do think it is a little bit different. A meeting in the middle is something we're trying to kind of find that middle ground that we can kind of make everybody happy.
Well, all four of the basins that we're showing are required by engineering.
Okay.
We downsized them as much as we could. They were shown much larger as an amenity. And this board told us to, get rid of as many as you can. So we reduced them as far as we could while still maintaining the engineering accommodation.
I'm sorry, not to, this is the minimum that,
This is the smallest they can get.
all right. I think that was it for me. Thank you.
Darcy?
So I think you've done a nice job. I think the pickleball courts are great. I love the sledding hill idea, and that it's mounted about 6 feet so that it's just enough to sled, but not enough to do anything stupid. So that's great.
I have a couple 2 and 3 year old grandchildren that would enjoy it while the older ones would not, but.
Right. But the previous comments I have to agree with, that there is a lot of passive open space and not an abundance of active open space. I think the 1.5 acre Central Park is a terrific amenity, and I think it helps to make this the kind of neighborhood that people would want to live in. I still have serious concerns about the density. That started with regional planning and persists. This property, if it follows the R3 guidelines, would have, I believe, 75 units. And I think that would be a better plan. I have a serious issue with the density, and I realize that you have accommodated the lot size. I think that's great, but I still think it's too many units.
Okay, thank you. I'm writing everything down, so I'm not trying to avoid eye contact. I'm just
That's
making
okay.
sure I can read what I write later.
Keith?
All righty. I was gonna give you a little bit of grief on the sign that's over 6 feet tall, but 4 feet, and 4 feet's only for the model home, so I'll have to take that one back. So I was wrong with that. Couple things, as I was reading this, it says each house will have parking for 4 vehicles basically on the street, so you're both side street parking, right? Because every house is.
The four, and this is pretty standard across the county. You have 2 for a 2-car garage and then 2 in the driveway.
Okay, so no street parking.
There will be street, and the county engineer allows for street parking on one side of the street. That's county engineer, that's not included in the 4 units per lot.
Okay.
So if you have a Super Bowl party or
Yeah, you can't do it there, right?
national championship game, which you probably ever left at halftime anyhow.
Yeah. So the 83 lots, it's the 83, right? That's what's on.
That's what's on the plan.
And they take up 21.96 acres, as my spreadsheet tells me. And that's the math I'm doing on this. The thing I have about open space, that is considered open space as well, you have utilities and right-of-ways as open space.
No,
It says utilities right-of-way and existing bodies of water may count up to 50% of required open space.
what we did, and that's the township zoning text. Our open space is defined as open space exclusive outside of the right-of-ways, streets.
Okay, so
Lots.
then, on page 9, development plans, it says the development plan shall comply with the section. Over 65% of the single-family lots dedicated abut to dedicated space, and each lot developed has access to open space.
And basically, I mean, to address, I don't remember who said it, but they have backyards that back into open space or a side yard.
Right, I calculated that by the drawing is only 38.55% of those people have access
I was
to
talking-
their property. Not 65%.
35% would not. What did I say, 30 or 32 lots?
Over
Out
65,
of
the
83?
single-family lot abut to dedicated space. It's 38% that abut to dedicated space, not 65%.
No, it's 65. If you have 32 out of 83, it's 51 lots.
And
By 51 by 80.
I counted, 50, no, what did I count? 15, I didn't count that many. I counted
Basically,
only
it's the.
32 lots that touch open space. That's it. The base of this would,
The only-
this would be
The only lots that would not abut open space are these here.
all those.
Yeah, well, these 4 here do.
Right, those four
And these 2, and then there's a cluster of, actually, those 2 do not.
do not.
Those
So,
are-
I mean, I didn't count those as a putting open space because that's really unusual.
Well, it's basically the way we've always planned it and the way I've always been trained to is if I can walk out my back door, not going into someone else's property, to walk out to an
To an
open
open
space.
space, it's open
And I
space.
abut.
Yeah.
It's probably, it comes back to my old training of golf course planner, golf course design.
Yeah, so you can come
Yeah.
up here.
You can charge for a golf course
A
frontage
golf
lot
lot.
if you have a 2-foot sliver that I can walk out onto the golf course.
Looks like golf balls.
Yeah, there's,
Other question on homeowners association.
Mhm.
At what point will they hand over the homeowners association to the residents?
oh, I don't remember the exact, what the text reads. It's been a long time since I've read it. Whatever is in the text,
I didn't find it,
typically it's when the last lot's sold,
not 50%.
because you
No,
still have to
it's-
sell.
Yeah, I think it's more like 90%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not.
The idea is you want to maintain the quality of the
Yes,
entry features and everything, so you're still selling lots.
yeah.
And I'm sorry I don't have that committed memory, but I've got 2 or 3 others of these going, and everyone is just a little bit different,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, and then on page 15, section C, it says modifications of preliminary development plans, that you're allowing the zoning inspector to do minimal modifications by request, and I don't think any single person should be able to do that. It should-
We're not modifying any preliminary development plan. That's, once you get your development plan approved, then I would come back in and ask for an amendment. That's what that
And,
refers to.
okay, I don't want somebody on the spot saying, yeah, go ahead and.
No, I understand.
Okay, it
Any
just doesn't-
amendment like that has to come back through the zoning commission.
Yeah, and again, just the amount of open space is still not, I think, what the township wants to see, but I mean, it is what it is today. So, those are my comments.
Okay, Tony, let me, I want to cover some of the things that you said. The first, I made the comment at one of our meetings that I wouldn't consider anything above 2, but that wasn't like 1.99, I don't get it, wasn't what I said. I said
No, I understand.
below 2, so I just want to make sure the whole board.
No, that's, and
That was me.
it was not interpreted any other way.
Well, I didn't change the resolution, it's still, the density is 1.85 is what. And I think that number, I'll stick on density for just a minute, it's 77 is the number that I came up with,
Magic number.
that is 1.85 almost exactly, so with the property itself. I have a couple other questions though concerning the ponds. Are there fountains in these, or these basins, are there gonna be,
There would be,
okay, because it didn't show in there,
right.
but okay. And we already talked about divergence. The thing I'm most concerned about is safety for the whole thing. And I notice across the tracks from where this property is, which is actually Glen Ross, they have mounding next to the tracks. I don't know whether that's a sound barrier or just something to keep the residents out of.
It's mostly a sound barrier, but I'm not going to try to interpret another developer's. I did not
Okay.
design that, so.
But would that would make it, to me, a little bit more safer.
If we show mounting along there, we're restricted along the very west edge along the tracks, but on our property, there's a high pressure gas line there. And we've been requested by the gas company not to mount over top of it. So we're restricted on how far to the west we can take it. We've shown it about halfway into that easement, which they've kind of said, okay, and whatever we can get from a width-wise at a 3-to-1 slope, which is probably gonna be a 6 or 8 foot mound, I'm guessing, is gonna be about the highest mound we can get in there unless there's more area, like in the southern open space area. There's some areas where we can get a little bit taller mounds in there too. And then we're putting plants on top too.
Now, how much from the paths that go across Peach Blow? That, I mean, you've got, it's butting up against it. There's the current school plan. This is gonna be within a mile of an elementary school that isn't built yet, correct?
The only elementary school I know for certain right now is Arrowhead. There's a plan. I've not seen, well, there's one over at Berlin Mills, or Berlin Meadows too.
In the
So
next,
there's, in the next 5 years, it was just released, in the next 5 years, there will be another elementary school.
Did they know where? Because,
It's
let
going
me
to
explain,
be-
I've been told it's gonna be on the Ross property. I've been told it's going to be over, it's in the oval of Evans Farm, which was approved that way. I understand there's a plan that might shift over to Old State and Hollenbeck.
So what just came out, and let me go into that email, sorry, just 1 second. I missed the meeting the other morning, because I guess I hit my off button on my alarm, and it was at 8 a.m. So, what this states is that, and this is public knowledge, okay, it's key communicator meeting minutes from January 9th, so it's considered public knowledge now. Elementary schools 18, 19, and 20, as well as middle school 7 are forecasted in the next 10 years. We will need the 5th high school, also as discussed. It states that, where's the, elementary school 17 will open by Pyatt Road and Peach Blow Road for the 2024-2025 school year to relieve overcrowding at Heritage Elementary and Cheshire
It's
Elementary.
great.
so,
It's gonna be right by
Like
Arrowhead.
right next to Arrowhead.
It is.
yes.
It
And I
really
guess my
is.
question was a lot of whether they're required by school bus or whatever for the elementary, is that path would be inviting to what Angela just mentioned of getting across Peach Blow. I'm wondering about the alignment doesn't look like you've got much room to move it.
We don't, but what we can do is work with the schools, with the county engineer and with Evans Farm to see if we can, and everyone involved, all the property owners as well as the county engineer, see if we can get that aligned. Because one that you push the button and it flashes, and
Right.
that would be ideal.
Okay. And the last thing I had on the Central Park, since there's a kiosk, the mail kiosks, I didn't see any parking. I know that's walking distance for most of the houses.
It is, and we request the county engineer for parking on that side of the street. So as they came in on the main entry drive, they'd turn left, park, and they were on the same side of the street to get to the mail.
But there will be parking places for them there.
There,
It didn't show.
we didn't do any off-road or off-street parking, no, but parallel parking on the street would be, would accommodate that.
Okay. Well, that's really all I had. I think the biggest thing that I heard though is the density is still a major concern. It's up to you, Tony, but
I'm writing down the pedestrian crossing on Beach Boulevard.
I'll remind you.
This evening we have, I failed to introduce the developers, but we have Minaj and Shay and Minaj, who are the two developers of this here tonight. Could I ask for maybe a 5 or 10 minute recess to talk with them and see what we'd like to do?
Certainly.
All right.
I guess I move that we have a short recess. You know, someone gavel us back. It's about 10 minutes till.
8 o'clock?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
In the corner.
Was it, remember what you were looking at?
Like, isn't that, it looks like that field has been developed, isn't that? Yeah.
So that is supposed to be. Like, right
Right.
there. That's the general.
I was thinking it was
That was what the lady said.
No, that's how I was doing the math on the, how many acres there were.
It's changed enough that library did
Also 70.
Okay. Just my math real quick. 41.7 is what they want in there as far as net development.
Yeah.
And I multiply
I
that.
only thought that Jones is gonna go right here and so that was changing.
Well, we could explore that.
Like a queen in this chair. And I mean, Ellie also has been waking up every day at 7 a.m. And that day, she slept in as well until 7:45. And I was like, oh, great.
We're supposed to have.
So,
I mean, I'm not surprised because Cheshire's.
That's why I asked for last time we were here.
There's no one, you would think that they would want to put it somewhere north, because like everybody that goes to Cheshire's coming from that area. But I mean, I guess there's still
so
buildings
the
over
other,
there.
so the other discussion
I don't do
was,
anything less than.
but this is supposed to be, I think that this is technically
I'm
gonna be.
over to, because I'm
a,
gonna show that, well, all I think is that
So
when you look at.
this is 3637, yeah. So the other discussion was, is that the elementary?
This is outstanding.
Somewhere up here.
So this is supposed to be another one right here.
Yeah.
Owen Tangents
Right.
is right here.
And where, I think I know that they're doing it.
That's the next two years.
Where are they doing that?
No idea. They've got lanes sprinkled.
At the last meeting.
A long time ago.
When it was
So they also have, and this is one, I don't know how they would ever use it, but technically there's room
Destroys that,
for,
and they.
I think it's a high school
Yeah,
next
right.
structure,
So
but there's technically.
these
room
basins are
for
supposed to go
elementary school,
help
because it doesn't
them.
take up as much room as a high school. But like,
not.
why
Because
would
the
you-
intention is so
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the
Uh,
only.
Yeah. But from the standpoint of, like, that actually happened,
So, yeah.
it doesn't seem like there's a route on, like,
Yeah,
just
they're
on
all-
that side.
They are.
To fill the high school, you have to be pulling from the west side of the lake to have kids come back across, because right now, it's, but I mean, granted, if all of these houses really
Unfortunately, there's a lot of them.
Oh, yeah.
are, maybe they will.
These are at least,
Figure it out, because there is
and,
one,
and I
open
can't take
field,
from
we
one house to the
don't
next, I could
know,
maybe 10 feet.
it's technically
I
within
mean, I understand.
Berkshire Township. It's further down on Reason K, not.
You should have fixed it.
Yeah, but I mean, right now, even during this rate,
Yeah.
are you able to pause it?
I don't think I can pause it and then restart it.
You know,
I gotta have to do it.
so,
Do you, wait, I ordered to do, it says like, executive session or
I can't
something, and
believe
we should
that.
put something up and then that way you don't
I'm
know.
wondering, I
about
thought
it.
you.
And not for tonight, maybe, but maybe for future, figure out how to do it, because then you have all this like
I want.
weird chatter.
There's a barn, there's an old barn with a silo on it, but there's nothing else, and it's a farm field.
Like,
Yeah, it's just circle. It's, I wanna say, I wanna say it's touchy, and maybe it's small, cause no, it's not.
So much.
No, I wanna say it's right here, maybe it is right here, we pointed that to somewhere back. It might be.
I didn't do that because this was, they were.
It's like, oh, there's houses, like there's houses all in there.
I just wanna build off the grid somewhere. What's going on? Oh, God.
They usually say draft.
We,
Right.
And I was, what about swing sets?
The kids are always like,
Storage
in
with,
the
you know,
neighborhood, I'm like,
two.
we are never giving up, like, our parents. I mean, we're He wants.
Oh, jeez.
And he really wants.
I was just asking if.
Right, you don't want to dig.
No, I'm like.
And then put, yeah,
Integrity of the ground right there.
right.
Who's my boss?
Honestly.
Catfish.
Oh, yeah.
Explain
You see the
something.
door there, you see the door there,
Just do that.
just for future reference.
These
Right,
are
but
not-
It was across the street. Yes,
I know the family, right? I have 2 daughters.
yes. One's a doctor.
So he was, yeah.
He was
He's
my
not-
boss.
Okay.
He's still there.
Yeah.
My, actually, my
So
brother.
right
was
there.
So,
So.
I know, I don't want
Oh,
Yeah.
so you are 90.
Yeah, I was there.
It's hard to know what
Really?
you're.
It is, I mean, there's.
Is it smart?
there's multiple different- That one's on.
Was that in behind?
Yeah, it's like.
This one looks
Yeah.
like.
Yes, it does, you're right.
All right,
This
this
one
one
was
was
on
a
the
gavel.
That's the gavel. Oh, many uses of this.
That's probably the best use for that.
Yeah, well, that or I saw somebody was using it for the cornhole game.
Wow.
Okay,
That's what you-
we're gonna please call the meeting back to order. And Dean, I guess it's up to you what you'd like to do next.
Oh, public comment.
Oh, sorry, public comment.
Oh, you guys go ahead and just do me, I can wait till the end.
We kind of already did it.
Okay.
Jump in there.
I'm Chad Rodney, and you're trying to put a road at the house next door to me, and I definitely don't want that, because my quality of life, my house, my bedroom sits on that corner, and if you're gonna have 8 houses with 4 cars available, potentially 320 vehicles turning in and out of there, and my bedroom is on that corner, and it's gonna destroy my quality of life. The access road going north from Hyatt is already ruined. Our traffic situation is, done with our traffic situation, if not already. When I purchased that house, I purchased it due to the fact that I had homes on both sides of me and an empty farm behind me. Now, I can't stop a development buying a farm, but the fact that I have a house next door to me, and now you're gonna tear down that house and put an access road in, that disturbs me. So I will do everything I can to fight that.
Well, we originally had our main access coming off Beachville Road.
I understand that, but it was denied, yes, I know.
Sir, can I get your address, please?
374 Hyatt, right next door to
374, okay.
Yes.
Chad? Is that your name, Chad?
Yes, sir.
You said 374?
40, yes.
374.
And I'm pretty sure my neighbor on the other side, but she doesn't want that access.
Other than removing the access, is there anything that would make it more viable for you? Like,
I don't care about houses going back there. That doesn't bother me at all. I
Is
just
there
don't want that.
anything that would be added, like, for example, fencing or trees, or would there be anything that would make it,
A 10-foot mound where I couldn't see or hear the road,
I'm
all
just
the way down.
asking
That's
for, like,
the only thing.
people-
Blocking all lights that are turning in my bedroom window. You know, I mean, that's my quality. I have 2 windows on my bedroom. And literally, anyone turning in there is gonna hit both windows.
Okay.
I'd have to look at it to know if the engineering would work or not, if I can get you a 10-foot mount. But I can get you a 10-foot screen with mounting as part of that. If there's not enough room there to get earth to work within that distance.
Chad,
So I can't.
What is a screen?
well, it's
Solid.
6 foot mound with trees on top.
Yeah, those trees are gonna take, what, how many years to grow?
They're 5
Or it could be the 6 foot with a 6 foot board fence or something like that too.
I mean,
If I could get you a 10-foot mount, I would, I just don't know if there's adequate space in there.
well, judging by the map I just saw, it seems like access road's closer to my property than it is to the other one, but I don't know, it's right down the middle.
The
or-
intent was it's center, so if it's not, if it's closer to
That's-
one, then it's my drafting mistake.
So that's my biggest concern, is having that access road. It's gonna literally destroy the quality of life for my sleeping and everything else. And I haven't talked to her, but I'm sure about the neighbor is not excited about it. Plus, if you're gonna put a turn lane in there, that's gonna come even closer to my house. And if that's where the turn lane is, you know, right on Pyatt.
The county engineer
You're
is
gonna have to
talking
widen the road.
about turn lane on Pyatt, turning into the community.
Correct, left turn, because it's left turn northbound. So that would be another 12-foot widening of the road, right? I mean,
It's still,
probably
I'm
12
not
foot.
allowed to fill in the right of way anyhow, so the right of way is 60 feet, so it's.
Right, it's still gonna move the road, it's still gonna move the road closer to my house.
Yeah, correct.
Yes, okay. Which, yeah, I don't want at all. That's all I have for now, until I hear more, if there's more.
Thank you. Any other comments from the? No. Okay. Tony?
I spoke with my clients, they're the landowners, and we had one question. 83 is what's proposed in the development text. Is there any consideration for reducing that to 80 lots? And the board would consider something like that. We are adding amenity to the site, and with the pickleball courts and the play area and the sledding hill, and helping the neighbors with their storm drainage and things like that, and bringing sewer to the area too. Is there any consideration from the zoning commission to accept 80 lots instead of 83, reducing it halfway to the 77?
I'll speak for me. I look at the resolution as being what we're chartered with, trying to our best to stick with, unless there are situations where there's some amenity that is, I don't want to say worthy, because you know how to make these worthy. 77 means you don't have to worry about us, because there's no divergence. So that would be a done deal. It's easy. Anything above that discretion that I've been leaning toward is the resolution is first, because the next developer says, well, Evans Farms got it, or somebody else got density. It's all individual, Tony, to me. And right now, I appreciate your attempt to get closer, but it's better, but it's 5 of us are gonna vote, not just me. So I can tell you that it makes me think more, but I also go back to the resolution book, is my opinion. And I'll ask if anybody else wants to give their thoughts to.
Yeah, it doesn't even buy an acre. It's 3/4 of an acre, right? 3 lots is what it was, 83 to 80.
It's 3 lots, and it's
0.25 per acre.
it's 100,000 a lot, so it's $300,000 loss too.
No, to make some of the houses more valuable is you keep a bigger lot.
Up against the tracks, it won't.
Yeah, I mean, it's all it's crapshoot, right? I don't know where the house price is going. So I was just trying to see, remember last time I said if we could increase the lot sizes that are abutting the houses on Piat to make it a little bit more pleasant, appealing to the people that have never seen a house back there. And that'd be giving up 1.5 acres and divide it up into those lots, those first, I guess, what is it, 1 through 21, divide the lots into the 21 and divide it in 1.5 acres into that, and that gets you to a larger lots behind there. Or why are you gonna lose all 6 of them there?
And I'll go back to it. I look at the far right-hand side, my directions are kind of bad, I'm not sure what that, but there's 4 lots sitting there. And I noticed the extra roads and other things that are going in for maintenance purposes. And doing away with those 4 at the end gives a bunch of green space, is usable, and less congestion, because that one cul-de-sac that's there, the only reason it's there is because of those 4 houses.
And that's treated there for the fire and emergency access. It's a secondary access that's gonna be required. And if we took that out, then you have to come down here to come all the way back around in either direction.
Oh, I was thinking the turn would be
If
there.
there's an accident at that intersection, then you have no means of getting your emergency vehicles in there, so that road's in there no matter what.
Okay, but the 2 large, cul-de-sacs, or,
Yeah.
what did you
Cul-de-sac.
Good, I'm glad.
Yeah.
Some of these words I know. But that to me, I give it until we vote, I don't know.
So from my perspective, just giving up lots doesn't help with the feeling that the park that you have in the middle is great. But when you look at what the other communities, and the reason why people move up to this area is for that sense of space. You don't get a sense of space in this neighborhood. And the sense of space there, everyone's crammed on top of each other in that neighborhood. I'm sorry, but that's how I see it at least. I agree that by getting closer to the 1.75 per developable acre.
1.85.
1.85.
Don't take any more.
I'm thinking 75, 77 lots, yeah. I had calculated to be 75 lots too, so if we're at 77, then we're at 77, so. But it's not about just removing, it's how are we making it feel like this has more of a community feel with space that people can use. So I agree, if we were to just take those lots away at the very end, and that's, what is that, 80 through 83, I think we're there, you wouldn't have the cul-de-sacs on either side, you'd still have the road. Is there something that you could do?
Yeah, I've got a cul-de-sacs. County, I've already worked
You
with the
have to
county
even-
engineer and
Even with that road, you still have to have the
it's the
cul-de-sacs.
county engineer's requirement.
Yeah, there has to be.
Honestly, I can't stand that portion of the plan, but that's beyond my control.
Mhm.
Any other comments about counties?
I mean, just to touch on this gentleman's comment, if we're gonna reduce the traffic coming in and out, I mean, it's still helping. I mean, there's nothing we can do about where the access is because that's on county engineering, but, taking down the density to where it's supposed to be per the resolution is going to help reduce the traffic. So that's really all we can do is adhere to
Well,
what's.
what I don't understand is how it's a residential home, and then it's just gonna be a road now. Like, that's what I don't understand. Like, doesn't it have to get, rezoned for the road, or?
That's one of the plots that they're asking for reason of,
Okay,
to be part of there's 2 different parcels that are being proposed in this plan. One is the acreage behind your home, and one is the house or that lot that's in the middle.
right.
And they become one, and what they do with the house is obviously they will tear it down and make a road out of it.
Right, and that's what this zoning is for, this meeting?
That's, yes. Any other comments?
Listening to the zoning commission's wishes, we'll go back to the zoning resolution, 1.85 units per acre to 77 lots. With that, I think we'll bring everything within compliance of the required minimums for everything in the zoning, lot size and
Setbacks.
provisions and setbacks and amenities and everything, but we'll have to do that.
Okay. So would you like us to make a motion to approve it with 77 lots?
Yes, and everything else within the minimum compliance of the zoning resolution.
So you won't come back, if we approve for you going down to 77 lots, and we won't have another say after that, right? It just goes straight to the
Correct.
trustees.
Yes.
So you don't have to come back here at all.
Unless we amend it.
They're putting a fork in it right now.
I'm not sure what that means.
It's done.
We're
So
we're
with
agreeing with what you said as far as the number of units.
How
the
about
understanding, you would also work with the adjacent, you know,
Neighbors.
do whatever
Yeah.
egress,
they would
regress?
ask as far as the.
We still are held to standards with the county engineer. County engineer's office is still going to drive the bus on accessibility, on circulation, on street width, stormwater. Sanitary engineer is still going to control the sanitary access. Delco is still going to control the water. This is simply going to 77 lots and the minimum requirements for Berlin Township.
So we can't have it, is the table, how do you go back and correct it, come back into the meeting to show
We
us?
really
that
don't
that's
want to
not-
do that for something as simple as going down to,
What I'm asking is with the gentleman's concerns in regards to the mounting, you would mount that as much as possible and,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
you know, meet with him as far as what would be the best case scenario as far as the screening, and that would be part of the final.
we would make the change before it got to the trustees.
Okay.
So, I mean, do we need clarity on what the specific changes would be?
An amendment or an addendum, an exhibit might be appropriate for what Jenny said as far as the mounding and what you would do to reducing the density down to 77. Put those two as an exhibit into the plan. Is that all that we need? Or do we do that as part of the motion?
It'd be a condition for the motion to approve. One of the top condition would be approval of 77 lots. And then there'll be other conditions as far as working with the neighbors at the entrance to screen.
And then this doesn't mean it's happening, it means we're sending it to the trustees
Correct,
for their approval, and you can, in between.
correct, but there was an entrance sign with lighting also.
It's
Down,
down.
it's just-
Here's a picture.
So I brought two copies.
Tony, we
It's
appreciate.
downlighting, so it's not projected upward.
Won't go in your bedroom.
Well, the other thing, and too, like, right on the development plan, Tony, you write it out, the
And
conditions,
Tony signs it, and
and you sign it, and Tony signs
It's,
it. And then-
it's fairly common to write that so that you have something to review and approve. So we may have to recess for,
yeah, this one hasn't seen my writing before, this is the first time, so bear with me. And I will do that.
I wrote the Shire and then I had to go back the next morning and retype it because I couldn't read my writing.
We know what the exhibit.
It's being recorded.
I mean, do you know where you're going to be able to take these lots from? I guess that's kind of my concern, is we're just writing this all down. To me, that's a big change, pulling 7 lots out. That's why I would like to see what it looks like afterwards.
But I imagine everything's going to tighten up a little bit. We might, with the loss of, understand, and this is not trying to drag you into sympathy or anything.
No,
but-
exactly, yeah.
but from a developer standpoint, to lose 6 lots is $600,000 right off the top.
Yeah.
The easiest way to start to get some of that back is to take a lot of the road out, because road, sewer, and water will cost you $600 to $800 a linear foot.
Yeah.
So if I can start tightening up streets, you're still going to end up with open space on the perimeter because the streets go this way.
Sure,
So it's going to be either north end or south end to come this way.
okay.
Building a street and taking 4 lots off, while it's really a good idea, is incredibly expensive because I retain that
Roadway,
$600 a foot.
yeah.
So I can tell you that it's probably going to go like
And what was
this.
that?
Those are the most expensive lots in the whole community.
They're the biggest.
And the ones touching water, right?
Which I don't get credit for as open space.
Yeah, well, no, but you get dollars out of anything touching water and bigger lots.
Okay, I think, it's Exhibit B, from what I can tell, in the density approval of 77 from 83, units. That's number one, and number two is mounting on the road to provide privacy to the residents.
To the neighboring residents at the entrance, yeah.
You're gonna add that?
Neighboring.
Are you gonna specify height?
I think
10
that-
10-foot screen
10-foot
minimum.
screening?
Yeah. That can be
Dirt, trees.
mounting, yeah,
Any combination of mounting and trees, that's
mounting
like 1 foot
evergreens.
mound, not
No
the
meaning
tree.
trees.
Put fencing in there too. We'll probably need some of that.
And make sure to specify where it's gonna be.
The entrance.
Yeah, just
At the entrance,
just-
yeah.
You can say from site triangle back to the front of this house, so you
Well, I said the road, and that's,
Hyatt or
well, it's, no, whatever road you
Entry.
name this when you entry.
it might be Valentine Drive.
I think it'll be pickable.
But that could work too.
Okay,
We'll
so
let the developer decide.
I can sign, I think,
Not yet.
Yeah.
not yet?
You have to take the
Yeah,
motion.
motion.
Make the
Oh,
motion. We have
okay.
to agree to
Let me,
it.
let me, let me go back to the.
First day of the job.
Can you read it to us before you go?
If you
Can
want
you
to
read
figure
us
out.
what you have before?
Certainly. Exhibit B was density approval of 77 from 83. And the second one was mounting on the entry road to provide privacy to the residents. 10-foot screening, mounting, trees, fencing are to be decided.
There's a third one too. We talked about meeting all the minimum requirements of the zoning
Yes.
resolution.
Oh,
Yes.
So is it minimum 10-foot screening, right, minimum?
yeah, 10-foot screening.
You might wanna put minimum, just so he could make it taller
Yeah.
if he wants, you know.
Oh, you're tough.
12 foot.
She's been with me. All, meeting all requirements from R3 zoning, is that
Yes.
fair? Okay,
And that was for the two neighboring properties on either side of the entry, back to the front of the house.
okay, so I'll try to make a motion. I make a motion to approve BZZ 22-002 filed by APN, and the rest of it, can you get that, Lisa?
Yeah.
Okay. With the addition of Exhibit B, which is the density approval of 77 lots from 83 lots. Number two, mounting on every road on entry. See, I can't even read my own writing. Entry road to provide privacy to the residents. Mounding with a minimum of 10 feet, screening, mounding, trees and fencing are to be decided. And then the meeting all requirements from the R3 zoning text.
Do you
Those are
want,
the
do
three.
you want to add in this specific location of the mounding, like along a certain
I
side?
just said on the road,
But Tony has a
on the entry
suggestion.
road.
It's this,
Valentine.
it's basically from the site triangle of Hyatt Road back to the back of his house or something like that.
I'm
Would
not
be-
very secretary taking all those words in, but I'll try. Yeah, I
Well,
can.
just so that when, because later on, there always could be misunderstandings and someone intended something and then everyone
Okay.
interprets it differently.
Yeah, I went to hell. Thank you for that. I just want to make sure that I didn't miss anything.
So from the site triangle, what did you say?
Yeah, from-
What are you suggesting?
To avoid blocking the site distance out on Pike Road, it's from the site triangle, wherever that is, back to the back of his house.
Okay, Jerry, did you hear
Of Chad's house, or Mr. Rodden? Mr. Rodden's
Yes.
house?
Or maybe
And
even
to
just
both
say
sides.
the two
To
adjacent
both sides.
properties. The two adjacent properties,
Yeah, the north and south property.
north and south properties.
The north and south property on both sides?
Both sides of it.
Both sides,
Okay,
Yeah, so so on the property to the north and south of and he said he suggested from the site triangle.
To the back of the.
How far back is that site triangle?
Depends.
Not really, it's,
To the end of the property.
Okay, so the.
So all the
I'm
way
guessing
up
it's
to
30 or 40 feet off the right of way.
the very end of their property.
It's not, whatever it is, it has
So
to be
the
there.
mounting
But
on
you won't
Entry
let
Road
anything block the street, and it might be
at
blocked.
the
so
site
it's a-
line.
Right, but- so I know,
At the site
where
triangle.
I raised my road, my house, literally, it's
It's actually from this,
My
edge
front-
of the street.
Extending on the length of the
my
property.
front trees is my property line, that you can take, you know, just take that property from me. So we're cutting down two giant trees to widen the road, because you have to move the ditches and everything
At
else.
the site
Because I barely
triangle.
cut my trees when they just did
Through
the
the
ditches.
rear of the
I'm
property.
not an engineer, but typically you can put the 3 lanes in a 60-foot right
Right, but that road is
of way.
only
And go to the east.
24, I think that road's only 24 feet wide by now. I think
To
it's
provide privacy
26
to
with the
residents? Is that
two
necessary?
Privacy.
thing. So you're gonna widen a lot into my property.
Well, we can't encroach outside the right of way.
Right.
So your property is your property right away.
Correct, but my property, since I maintain the ditch, I maintain everything in front of that.
And because it's on the northbound side, it's probably going to go to the east, not to the west. They don't go both ways, they only go on.
Site triangle.
If we were widening southbound, then it would come your,
Privacy and screening to residents.
Okay, but it's still gonna go to my neighbors across the street, property, not here. And I will help her out on
Here they
this.
go.
Because that, you know, that's their,
Mounting trees and fencing.
and every car coming out and turning, shine right in there. So that's my fear. So now I'm gonna lose 2 trees. Now the sight line of the ditch is gonna be a lot of light coming in from my house, because of the sight line, right?
Well, actually, no, they should.
So I'd really like to see that map out.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of stuff.
yeah. What size mound do you want us to write in there?
Do what?
I thought was a addition of the mountain evergreens and board fence,
Right.
So
not knowing how wide
Okay.
there is.
dirt, trees, and fence.
Is there a minimum mound size that you think you could build? Because in theory, there could be
We
no
said
mound.
10, a minimum 10.
Yeah, but in theory, someone could buy the property and
If
then
that's, and
have no
this is not an answer, this is just me calculating, but if it's a 100-foot wide lot and it's a 60-foot right of way, it leaves 40 feet, so it's 20 each side. On a 3-to-1 slope, you have going up and going down on the mound, so you have 10 foot to fit in, so it'd be a 3-foot high mound up, a 3-foot high mound down. So it's going to be somewhere around 3 feet unless I want to go steeper or I want to encroach on the neighbor's property.
So minimum of 3-foot mound,
Yeah.
okay, and then
All I'm doing
evergreen.
is playing math here.
And the biggest thing that I've ever seen that we did in the township at least was to make sure that the lights from the cars
Yeah.
come out.
Yeah.
Well, there's noise that comes from cars also. It's not just light, but.
And evergreens,
We
right?
can't solve
Evergreen
the
trees, do you have
noise,
that in there
but-
because deciduous trees are.
Canopy block.
Oh, wait, you
I would, yeah, I would
Just put
evergreens,
evergreen.
yeah.
Evergreen trees.
Evergreens break really good.
So remember, if it's not in the text or it's not
So
valid.
evergreen trees?
Yeah, evergreens are gonna work the best.
Oh, where you have.
And how long does it take to grow?
Although you probably put 6 footers in there, so you'd be fine.
I can say
It could
it.
be bigger or it could be something.
It works.
smaller.
That's
I had to do
what you
that
should
recently.
have. You should have with the headlights though.
So Lisa, do you want me to read these or just?
Yeah, could you read it?
Sure.
If you read it. Or just the one with the mountain.
With the mountain,
Yeah,
okay.
that's the
Number 2 is mounting on the entry road at the site triangle through the rear of the property to provide privacy and screening to residents.
Not from the rear of the property, rear of the house.
Rear of the house, rear of the house.
Rear of the house.
House.
Okay.
It's a
So it only-
500-foot lot.
It's a
Oh.
lot of
I
ground.
got bowling alley.
So
The
it's
rear
a
of the house
rear
to
of the house.
provide privacy and screening to residents, mounding evergreen trees and fencing of a minimum 10-foot screening to be decided.
And your minimum of 3-foot tall mountain though, that, the
Oh, I
mountain
didn't
part.
put, yeah,
It could be up to 3 foot of earth.
mounding.
Yeah, a minimum of 3 feet if he thinks,
That's
because
probably
he could
good.
sell a property and the next person takes it over and they'll say, well, we'll just have a fence.
It's gonna.
No, just add that, just add the 3-foot
3
mound,
foot of
3-foot minimum mound. The mound part will be a 3-foot minimum.
mound of 3 feet.
You're
Minimum.
not gonna get any more than 3, so 3-foot minimum is 3 feet.
Yeah.
And if you have a ditch in there, then I can't do a 3-foot mound either.
Yeah, it's gonna be very,
A 10-foot screen using those,
3 foot minimum
you
mound.
can even put a 10-foot.
Yeah, 3-foot minimum mound.
capacity screen.
You just wanna ask him what the minimum that he can do is, so it's.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3-foot minimum,
Did we have
10-foot
something else? I
total.
will.
Did that say north and south of the entrance?
No,
Just wanna make sure that
it's both sides of the entrance, north and south sides.
that it says that in there.
It just says 2 residents, so I would assume.
there's a resident on each side.
so I would say, you want me to add to the, or you're gonna write to the north and south of the entry, the lots to the north and south?
Yes. Yes.
So. mhm. So,
We're now out of room.
Yeah, we're-
So we're gonna
okay.
get stuck.
And then did you have the third one, the meeting all requirements from the R3 zoning text?
I'm not sure, but I have it now.
Okay. So I think I made that motion. Do you need a?
Did you make a motion to approve
I
it?
was
Did you?
thinking-
I forget,
Yeah, I
okay.
made a motion to approve it.
Oh, yeah, you did, okay, good.
Can you, with all the different authors, can you read it one more time for me?
With the 3 exits.
All 3 conditions. so-
Okay, the first one was the density approval of 77 lots from 83 lots. The second one was mounding on entry road at site triangle through rear of house to provide privacy and screening to residents. Mounding of evergreen trees, fencing, and a minimum of 10 feet screening to be decided with 3-foot minimum mound lots on both the north and south side. That's number 2. Number 3 is meeting all requirements from R3 zoning text. And that was the motion.
Minimum
And you said-
requirements, yeah.
You said evergreen trees, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
I did.
okay, just wanna make sure, okay.
I gotta get 100% opacity screening on it, one way or another.
5 layers deep.
We will agree with that.
Okay, well, I made the motion. The next is if there's a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Okay,
Lisa, would you take a vote,
Sure.
please?
Mr. Valentine,
Yes.
Ms. Brown,
Yes.
Ms. Close.
Yes.
Ms. Kaplan?
Yes.
Mr. Goshen?
Yes.
The recommendation passed, so we will send it to the trustees.
Yeah, recommendation to the trustees for approval.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you for working with us.
Thanks.
I know those.
So
Thank you.
you should,
Tony, can
you'll want
sign?
to
Come to trustee meeting.
watch,
Do what? Yes.
Go to the trustee meeting.
I didn't even know about this, so
It's
I just luckily my mother sent me a message and said, hey, keep better go up there, so.
okay.
So how do I find out about the trustee meeting for this? Because I
Website.
know how you can word things to get around doing things properly. I mean, I design things every day, so.
Sure.
I mean, the sidetrack and everything else is completely working against me. The 3-foot mound and trees is working against me also. So I just wanna,
Can he
Voice my
get
disapproval.
on, can he get on the email that, Claudia's email? Yeah.
She notifies everyone at the trustee meeting, right?
They have to notify her.
You wanna give us your email address? And that way you can get on the agenda items?
Kathy, wouldn't you be notified anyway if he's in a case of property
I'm notified him back in.
Okay, back in,
Claudia.
yeah, but yeah, you can add on that too. So you
Yeah.
should get another written notice from her for the
I
trustee
think
meeting.
the problem is that when it's an amendment, it's original, and then there's a change amendment, it will get written to the letter. No? Yeah, so like, you know how there was so many people the first time?
Yeah.
So,
They don't do that.
no one,
You have to bring.
That's not right.
they have to really
Yeah, because you could sneak in and change everything you promised
Gotta go
already.
through all the EPA regulations. Not gonna take a lot of time. it's all-
I was honestly surprised, I was.
That's in the zoning,
resident.
maybe that could be changed though, because that could be a zoning
We should
resolution.
change that, because it's only a letter that was here.
Yeah.
You guys have,
Really big expense.
whenever you change, wherever you work on the zoning code changes, you can make that change after thinking about it, yeah. Because that doesn't seem right.
No.
Now the Terra Park there.
Come in and sell, sorry, come back and then everything.
Yeah.
One neighbor doesn't know, so it's not.
Yeah.
It sounds like Cincinnati, sounds like a
There's a
lot
lot
of
of-
It is a lot of training.
Oh, yeah, there were a lot.
Jared found
Are they still putting signs in properties that are being,
Yeah,
or
I've never.
is that just rezoning?
That's just a sign.
Maybe a sign?
Certified.
I just look for it now, but maybe you put a sign and they will see it now.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I know we advertised that here on the sign, zoning meeting, whatever, but it's not like it says what.
Yeah.
We're gonna anything else on the agenda? You want to-
Most of the time we
You
don't.
need a motion to adjourn?
No, not yet. Thank you. Oh, okay, the next item on the agenda, any other business brought before the zoning commission. I have a few items, based on just the newness and Megan. I hope you all got now, and will be getting, Megan keeps, just notes of the meetings, and she was sending them, before this, she was sending them to the, chair and the vice chair. And she was continuing that this year with Darcy and I asked her to please don't do that. I asked her to send it to all of us, because we're all equals here. I just have to try and run the meeting, so that way we know that everybody's got them. So it's up to you. But I told her that if anything came up here from that, then I would give it back to her. Or if you want, reply to her, because we're all part of the commission. With that, some of the things that she brought up, the informal process, what I understand about that is that it's being revised, that Jake's gonna be the primary all the time, to give the developer, the applicant, the rules, which is basically the resolution book, and any advice, and if they want a informal, that Jake will help schedule that for one of our meetings that we, as a group, will hear, not individuals, which we did that a couple times last year. And so now it's all of the board members. Then the comp plan status, they came up with something last night that the trustees think there's some issues with what's been submitted. So they don't want to publish it, the new one. And there were two choices. They can send it back to us as the commission, or have a meeting with us to discuss their issues, and we all modified at one time. I have my feelings, but that's up to you guys to decide. I kind of told her that I would prefer that we sit down as a team, the trustees and us, and come in, so it's done, because this has been a 2-year process to get the thing done.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, well, thank you, then I told her my feelings, but I said I'd make sure the board knew. And then the next step is that she will set something up then after this. Then the meeting room updates, I'll let Jake talk a little about that, but it's coming along, there's some things, and we're all 5, hopefully soon 7, and I'll talk about that, 7, be trained on how this thing works, because if Jake's not here, Lisa, we don't have a meeting, I don't even know what happens when we don't have 2 key players here, so we're gonna work through that. And then the one issue that she did bring up is Cheshire, and that's those buildings that the zoning inspectors are working to resolve along with the county prosecutor. But nothing has been decided yet on it. There are some violations and there were some things that were done that weren't necessarily, it never came to us for approval, to the zoning commission. And some of what the zoning inspector did before didn't necessarily conform to what they built, but 2, conform to what the intent was of it. And the last thing, she told me this morning that there have been 3 applications so far for the alternates, and she's given until the 22nd of January for whatever's there, and make decisions after that. So I don't want to be verbose in that, but I want to, in this meeting, I'll get extract what I got from it, that you all can read too. But I don't want to be misleading. If there's any comments, you guys can help decide what to do with that. So with that, any other business from Jake?
Yeah, just on the training aspect, I am tonight using the smart board actually to access all the camera feed and the communication through these mics. So I think as long as it continues to cooperate, that's how I'll train you guys. I'll have, a time where we can all meet sometime, maybe even next week if possible. We'll all kind of communicate on that aspect and get that training going so that everybody is aware of how to run that feed through our emails and stuff, and you will have all that information. So I'll make sure I kind of write down like a checklist per se for you guys so that everybody's aware step by step how to work it. And like I said, tonight we are using the actual smart board computer asset to it. So that's a big step because I was having to plug the laptop into it to be able to access all that stuff. So as of now, that's how we'll do the training, as long as that stays cooperating. So other than that, that's about it.
The only suggestion, Jake, I'd make is if it's a 10-minute process, maybe we could come 10 minutes early if it fits everybody's schedule, instead of a separate meeting or whatever, just for that.
Right, yeah, if that works for everybody, we can do it that way. I might need a little bit more than 10 minutes just so that I can go through everything detailed so that everybody's aware of how to do it. So if that works for everybody, that'd be totally fine with me as well.
So on the 24th, should we just be here for 6:30 then?
Yeah, that's
Make
totally
sure?
fine. Yeah, if everybody wants to.
I mean, Jake, do you mind if I came around one afternoon and just?
That's totally fine as well.
Yeah.
I'm always here until 5:30.
Sometimes I need to break up my day.
Right, absolutely. Monday through Thursday until 5:30, I'll be here. So.
Okay.
Okay, and then the only thing left that I have is the next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, January 24th. We're gonna cover, we all got books tonight for that, Hyatt Road, FR1 to R3.
You gonna be here?
Do what?
You gonna be here that week?
Yes, I'll be here next.
I will not, I'll be out.
Well, then Darcy won't be here either, so there'll be 3 of us. But that's
Wait, there's 3 of you that won't be here?
2 that won't be here. Us 3 will lose.
Do you have quorum then?
That's a quorum. I mean,
3 is
if
over.
the applicant agrees.
But all 3 of us have to say yes, or, that that reduces their ability.
But I will give them a chance to, if they want
Ask
to
if
take
they want to
over
reschedule.
and continue when there's.
Okay,
If we don't have any alternates, then it sounds like we're not.
and well, she said she will close the ballot till the 22nd, so it's up to maybe the death. With that, if you want to do what you wanted to earlier, Ledger.
Oh, wow.
I remember that.
Okay, so I'll sign the minutes.
Oh, thank you.
That's gonna be in my
Please.
goal this year. Nobody gets out of this room.
Please sign that.
That's good. Just back to what you forget. Me.
And then was everybody pretty comfortable on the seating arrangements and the room
You don't like, she wants to be at the end.
The only thing that I don't like is where the flag is, because we have to close the smart thing every
Could
time.
we put it over there instead, maybe?
If you guys want to keep it there, I can keep that closed every time we're doing a meeting.
Okay.
That's totally
Well,
fine,
it's
because
just-
it actually takes away from the distraction of the screen being right from the camera.
I like it being closed when we're in session, because I saw you right there. And the only other thing I didn't tell him, which maybe, whenever the resident has comments like that, he was supposed to be up here. I didn't do that.
Yep, we'll just make sure that,
Well, he was watching it on Facebook and he could not make
Communicate.
comments, and so he rushed in over here, and he went to our zoning
Oh,
office
okay.
door.
Which
and
is
the
locked.
trustee door, and I just so happened to be out there.
yeah, we'll just
So
make
he
sure
was a
any-
little kind of keyed up when he came in about
Well,
anytime we have a speaker
the
of
thing
any
is,
sort,
it's-
we'll have
The
them
thing
close
is,
to
it's
the
in your own
mics.
backyard, it makes a lot of difference. unfortunately.
Yeah.
So, but that's the other thing, whenever we have a meeting, is to try and get whoever's,
doing
Participate.
public comment to go
yeah,
up there.
to go up there, because the speakers live
Speakers
in
are
our
right here,
area. Did you make a motion?
Not yet, but I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second? Thanks, guys, for putting up with me.
Okay, can I just say
Yes,
out
now,
now?
who will
All
be
the
there?
houses are not gonna shake. The houses are gonna shake along the back of that. I'm just like, the houses are gonna be.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine living